What is up, Steeler Nation? We are back. End of the week is almost here. I am York Football. This is Mic'd Up Sports One. We're going to be going live. You'll see it up on the Twitter, X, whatever you call it. How are you today, Michael?
I'm good, man. I tweeted this morning that I'm a little bit mock draft out, but we still have about 3 weeks left, and it's
Here we
funny that I
are.
would go ahead and tweet that right before we're going live doing a mock draft. So here we are. We'll break down the Steelers a little bit today, maybe look at a couple other picks and why they'll affect the Steelers. But yeah, let's ride, right?
Yeah, and shout out to our sponsor over at Steel City Wheelhouse, where the bar is set. Tires for all cars and trucks can now be purchased online at steelcitywheelhouse.com. And financing is available. Go see our guys down there at Steel City Wheelhouse. You see it on Mike's shirt as well, where the bar is set. Nice Yins hat.
Sure.
What's going on at NFL Network? I guess we might have to touch on that after the mock draft a little bit. So it's crazy right now, whole off season.
I have no
but
idea.
yeah, we'll
I
get
didn't even
to
see
it.
it.
All right. So we gonna jump into it, Sammy, or take it away?
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco, Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
And like I said, we're live in Twitter sphere, X, whatever Elon Musk calls it now. But we are here on the one and only The Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. My guy Michael over here has the mock draft simulator up. And yeah, it's a big question mark right now, but I think we'll get to it.
Can you see my screen? How we doing out there, everybody? You want to take a look? Oh, yeah, absolutely. First of all, shout out to these sites like Pro Football Network for building these mock draft simulators. All the wasted time at work people spend on these, all of the late nights staying up on just staring at their screen on their phone, going through every team. It really allows us to be couch GMs over here. And it's a heck of a whole lot of fun. People are doing this in like December before the playoffs even start. They're going through the mock draft simulators. So
yeah,
I should have bought and invested in mock draft simulators long before
you missed your calling
this year. And hey, we should have created one of these damn things. That's for sure. So let's I don't know if anybody has ever or if anybody is unfamiliar with these. It essentially goes pick by pick via an algorithm. Based on what this simulator thinks these teams will do. So we're going to do 7 rounds. I'm going to select the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course. All right. And then we're going to do enter solo draft. And what's going to happen is from Chicago at number 1 pick all the way down, they're going to start simulating some of these picks. I'll pause in between to touch on it, and Jordan can touch on it as well. Until we get up to Pittsburgh and see where we're at. Obviously, this is a fluid process. Nobody knows for sure what the heck is going to happen. So let's have some fun. Hope you're joining us on the Twitter or X, like you said. All right, enter solo draft. You see on the left side here, these picks rolling in. I'm going to stop it right there after the first 5. Jordan, Caleb Williams goes number 1 overall to the Bears. I think that's pretty safe money right now.
Yeah, I would say. Well, he's over there painting his nails, so they might be having second questions. But anyways, yeah, I think that's a give me at number 1. Drake May. I think for the Steelers personally, like what you see here on this simulator is that it's these QBs. It's gonna dictate really who's available at number 20 for the Steelers. So I guess like that's what the anticipation's for.
Yeah, the Commanders are a wild card at pick 2. I've heard everything from May to Daniels to even J.J. McCarthy now, who I think a team is probably going to trade up for. Vikings have been rumored. I think the Giants at 6, which is our next pick here, makes a lot of sense to trade up for J.J. McCarthy because the Cardinals, they're smart. They traded down last year and they still got, a lot of good talent on that squad. I think if they trade down to 6 and pick where the Giants are, they know they'll guarantee themselves one of these top 3 receivers, Harrison, Neighbors, or Odunze, who hasn't gone
Does
yet,
that
and
make
will
you feel
probably
old,
go.
Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Oh, come on, man. I saw Frank Gore's son playing a couple years ago.
I'm just had to ask.
Edgerrin James' son plays basketball for Cincinnati. Like, where did the time go? I still feel 19 half of the time. And I created some of these. You remember when I was creating websites like this at like 16 years old?
I told Veron Haynes that when we had him
Not
on.
like this, but blogs.
Yeah, you've been doing, the Exaga pages. You buy them,
Is that what they were called? Zanga with the X. Remember
yes.
Zanga? Wow, shout
Yeah.
out Zanga. That died out pretty quickly. But I think the Giants could move up to 4 here, select McCarthy, and then, like I said, the Cardinals will gain some extra picks and still be able to take one of the top receivers. So JJ McCarthy still on the board. That's interesting. My guess is Odunze goes here. Sammy and Yellow's Titans are going to take Joe Alt if this simulator knows what the heck it's doing today. So let's resume the draft and kind of see where we're at here. Oh,
Wow.
all right. So we got the position right for the Titans here, but they went with the Penn State lineman, which is a mistake because Joe Alt's the best player, the best lineman in the draft right here. McCarthy goes 6 to the Giants. So he still went off the board of the team that I think could trade up for him at pick 4. And then the Bears take Laya to Latu, which seems like a bit of a reach, but they definitely need an edge. And the Jets add a tight end for Aaron Rodgers, Jordan. They could use as many weapons as possible over there. And I think this pick of Bowers is a solid pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. This is a totally different draft, from last year. I think the QBs, again, I will say this till I'm blue in the face. The QBs are what's going to set the tone for everything.
If anybody's watching this, I shouldn't say if anybody's watching this right now. Let me check who is watching this. You probably noticed that. Okay, we got 127. Appreciate Yins. That Rome Odunze, wide receiver from Washington, is still on the board here at 11. The Steelers met with him. He is a phenomenal player. Like, he has some Larry Fitzgerald-like qualities. Makes contested catches. Is just a high character, off the charts kid. And do the Steelers think about jumping up like 8 or 9 spots here to take their guy with Minnesota, especially because the Vikings would have missed out on these first 4 quarterbacks? And that's the obvious position that they need to fill. So if the Vikings bump back to like pick 20, they could maybe potentially take quarterback Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. At this spot, while of course gaining plenty of equity. What do you think about Michael Penix Jr.?
I mean, yeah, but I just don't think it's in our wheelhouse. If anything, he does fall.
All right.
I don't.
Yeah. I want to have some fun here. So
quarterback's tough, man. It's a lot of mediocre quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's no knock on anyone. It's the toughest position in all of sports. So when you find your franchise guy, you got to stick with it. I mean, we've seen what just happened in Pittsburgh. So
hopefully that's Justin Fields, because Russell Wilson, of course, only has so much gas left in the tank.
Don't tell him that.
Don't tell him that. I know. Let's ride. I'm going to have some fun here. I'm going to propose a trade to the Vikings with the Steelers. I'm sorry, that's not the Vikings. Where are they at here? To maybe try and jump up and take Odunze. I'm not going to offer the sun and the moon because Pittsburgh has so many needs, and this would take a lot to get from 20 to 11. But you see him falling down the board, it kind of makes sense for both teams. I'm going to offer pick 20 for 11, and I'll offer the second round pick 51. And the Steelers would, and let's do a future third, and the Steelers get back 129. I think that makes sense for jumping up 9 spots. I think they're going to reject it, but let's see. All right, I think it was a fair offer. Giving up a lot of equity there. It's a good time, right, JY? These are a lot of fun. So let's resume.
These are cool. Like I said, I might have tinkered around with these, but this is pretty awesome.
All right, let's resume it. And the The Vikings go with Odunze there,
Oh,
yep, they obviously take him. The Steelers would have to jump up to take him. So we got to stop
Brian
it
Thomas
right after
Jr.
the Rams. Boom. Okay. It is stopped.
Nate
And
Wiggins, man.
Nate Wiggins, yeah, some players that the Steelers would be interested in off the board here. There's your boy Talise Fuaga.
Hmm.
Jordan's daughter Aria was doing a mock draft yesterday, and he was her favorite, right?
Mm-hmm. Beavers, our fellow. No, he's Oklahoma State. I almost said that's Oregon.
Oregon State Beavers. That's this dude is an animal. Come in right away and start at right tackle and be a great one for a long time. So Dunze to the Vikings, Turner the best edge in the draft. Well, shout out Chris Braswell, our guy who's just on the Sick podcast. Another Alabama edge. Fuaga makes sense. Looks like the Dolphins traded up in this draft. Okay, that's interesting. And the Cowboys did as well to get their lineman. Terrion Arnold, corner, goes to the Saints. They could certainly use some help on the back end. Jared Verse to the Colts. Quinyon Mitchell, guy that I think will go ahead of Arnold. Kind of a pipe dream for Pittsburgh, but if he's there, I would run the card up. Same thing with Latham and Brian Thomas Jr. And then Nate Wiggins, a cornerback from Clemson, who the Steelers might have considered, although he's quite frail. And our guy John Vogel said that his tape sucks. So I haven't watched fully his tape, but I'll trust him there. All right, Jordan, pick 20. Name me some positions the Steelers should be looking at with pick 20. Some positions.
Offensive lineman, center. I know a lot of people, it sounds crazy, but I did watch some tape on Zach Frazier, and I know that there's pros and cons. But, I mean, from everything that I saw, he's everything. You know what I mean? The Steelers need the offensive line. You win the games up front. So, to me, I haven't even been looking but anything but offensive linemen. Obviously, in the second round, you got, had, like you said, Chris Broswell, those type of guys. But it has to be offensive linemen.
I think you are barking up the right tree, brother. And I did not see Washington's Troy Fatanu falling this far, but so the 5 in consideration.
Marius Mims would be great.
Yep.
Another
Fatanu,
Georgia guy.
That's who's in consideration for me right now. Fatanu, Mims, Newton is a freaking animal.
What happened to Jackson Powers Johnson for him to drop? Because I was really high on. I mean, again, I watched tape on a few of these guys. He was one of them, and Zach Frazier. And I mean, it was like for an offensive lineman, I'm like, dude, this dude. But I don't know. Was it something at the combine? Am I missing something?
So he didn't work out at all, and teams are kind of like, why? Like, that's a little awkward. What are you hiding?
Yeah.
And when we talked to a couple draft nicks, and they told us teams are really concerned about his lower body strength. The fact that he often, it gets caught up kind of, and, is unable to block some of the bigger defensive linemen. He's shorter arms, shorter legs. And it seems like he was all the hype and all the rage at pick 20 for a long time, but it's starting to feel like that ship has sailed a little bit, because teams reportedly have him in like the early second round now. So I think the other guy who's down the board a little bit I would consider is Graham Barton here. He's super versatile, can play all 5 positions, and I think has probably risen above JPJ at this point on most teams' boards. Once again, who knows? We don't know if this is the case. Wide receiver Adonai Mitchell also get consideration, but I think when you take into consideration the meeting at the pro day, the meeting at the combine, bringing him in, he's another Georgia guy. I mean,
it just makes logical sense.
It's not as sexy. It's not Fatanu. Seems like people would be surprised he fell a little bit, but if this is the real thing, I think Amarius Mims
340.
Is the pick.
Wow.
I know. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Now I just have to.
That's what you
got to make the pick.
Need.
So hold on. Mims. Did I not select the Steelers whenever we went into this?
Resume draft.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it's going to take. Oh, yeah, it will. Good call. Because then it's going to have me up on the clock.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I'm getting off for some trades, bro.
Wow.
And
Holy
Some
crap!
folks
They're
out
throwing
there,
in everything in the kitchen sink with that. We don't need
that is
all
a
that.
that is a lot of
Well, a
dude.
second, a third.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
fourth
not bad. This
and
is
a
like
second
NFL head coach. You remember that video game?
and a
When you're,
second and a third next year. Wow.
I mean, I might have to. I
You
don't know though,
you
but
lose your chance at Mims and
yeah,
Fatano, a star offensive lineman. So
you need
I'm
that.
as tempted as I am. I'm going to reject. I bet we'll get another
We
trade
don't even
offer.
have a center
Arizona.
on the well.
This
Nate
is
Herbig, but
this is interesting too. You move down 7 picks, which puts you in that JPJ range. You pick up early third and another early third. But this is bothering me a little bit. This
yeah,
2025 second. That's such a good.
you're not
That's
gonna
such a
make.
sweet spot for the Steelers.
Yeah, you're not gonna. That's. You think those are like trades that I'm seeing right now that you think about, and you're just like, it made me think for a minute, but no,
Hmm.
that's
That's fair.
exactly what that did.
It's such a sweet spot for Pittsburgh. You think of guys like Keanu Benton last year.
Yeah.
So obviously some receivers they've taken in the past. I'm going to reject as well because it's tough to miss out on Mims and Fatanu. All right, let's knock it out. Popular pick, but hard to argue. All right, we'll zoom through these. You guys can take a look here. Who's flying off on the left side here? Jackson Powers Johnson goes 26 to Carolina. Baltimore takes Graham Barton. They always get great value every single damn year. It feels like
Xavier Worthy to the Jags.
to the Jags. The fastest man alive on earth.
Unbelievable.
McConkey, a good pick for the Panthers. They pair him with Deontay Johnson. They need 100 receivers.
Penn State, I will say, even as a Pitt guy, they have a lot of dogs in this draft, like a lot of good players. Wow. Pick 51. Pick that doesn't.
I can already see who's on the board. Look to your right.
Wow. Wow. Zach Frazier still.
The guy you were just talking about is on
Maybe
the board
he
still.
dropped a little bit. Imagine, but it could be like one of those scenarios where it could be one of those scenarios, kind of like, hey, we got Joey Porter Jr. at 32 last year, and it just so no one thought that. There's gonna be like that's what the draft is. Some of those kids are waiting around. Everything we see it happen almost every draft.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little bummed because wide receiver is obviously a critical need, and I really thought receiver around this spot would be the pick. Corley, Leggett, and Roman Wilson is so tantalizing. Ricky Pearsall.
Roman Wilson would be.
Yeah, he could play, in the slot. He'd be a great compliment to George.
But this is such a deep wide receiver draft. Like we have guys like Jalen Coker on, like those type of guys that they might not be a sure number 2 right away, but they could lead up into the possible wide receiver 2 position. You already have George Pickens, but we say it all the time. Kelvin Austin at this point is just a gadget. So we do need it, but this draft is just so deep. I'm thinking if I can grab 2 offensive linemen right off the bat, a guard, right, whatever, someone versatile, to be honest with you, that you could say, hey, we might need to move you at this position and, you might produce better. Those type of guys. I think maybe get a for sure center and a versatile offensive lineman.
You nailed it, homie. You took the words right out of my mouth. I think one of these guys is still going to be available in the 3rd round.
Roman Wilson would be tough, bro. I mean,
I feel that. I do. I feel that. But this is an easy one for us. We are just delaying the inevitable over here, and it'd be a great start to the Steelers draft with Mims and Frazier. I think 2 day 1 starters right there. Great start to the Steelers draft. Go ahead in your home right now and give a fist pump, whatever, clap a little bit. That's a hell of a first 2 picks for the Steelers. Yep, and let's hope for a receiver corner next. Take you home. There it is. That's tough for you to say. I know you're a hell to Pitt guy all the way.
I mean, at this point, man,
you'd have to bite the bullet.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, like I got, I love Pat Freiermuth. At that point, once we had him on the show, I was kind of like, hey, Penn State is a hell of a football school.
And Joey Porter Jr. You got to bite the bullet.
Yeah.
All right. So we are hoping some receivers will fall here. If you're just joining us, doing a little draft simulation on the Sick Pod Steelers Crazy. Steelers 7 rounds, 1st round pick, Amarius Mims, took over Troy Fautanu and guys like Graham Barton Adonai Mitchell. And second-round pick, Zach Frazier. I think that's a layup if he is there for the Steelers. Consider if they don't go center in the first round, obviously. And now we're sitting here rooting for a receiver to fall. And I see some names off the board. Pearsall, 77. We should have traded up. I should have moved up. Let's see. Nah, we're staying right here. I'm not even entertaining them. Man, all these names are just they're gonna make us puke. It is such a deep receiver draft. But after the Steelers went Frazier, Corley, who they love, off the board. He's dynamite. He came in for a pre-draft visit. 5'11", explosive, makes all the contested catches. Our friend Chris Braswell, Tampa Bay Buccaneer. That'd be pretty cool. Go watch our last podcast. We had him on. And then he said the Steelers talked to him, showed interest. So FYI, if you missed that. Polk from Washington, haven't shown as much. Leggett, I love him. Chiefs would get an absolute steal at 64 there with just a dynamic playmaker. And then here's the pain. Roman Wilson, another receiver.
Yeah,
Tez Walker, who's really falling down board. And then Ricky Pearsall goes a couple picks before Pittsburgh. All right, let's check out some of these positions, JY. I still want a receiver. What are your thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I would be happy if this was the way that the draft went at the end of the month.
Steelers seem interested in Malik Washington because he's another good complement for Pickens. Slot guy, fast, good RAS score there, tested well. 5'8", 191.
Another Washington in Pittsburgh.
Bro, 5'8", 191 scares me. I don't see true two whatsoever with him. I see another kind of a Calvin Austin clone to a degree there.
Yeah.
And so I'm as much as he intrigues me, I might want to wait or take a guy like Burton who's a little bigger. Let's take a look on defense, obviously, because we didn't address corner or defensive line, who they'll be super interested in. And Burton would be a little bit of a reach here. So would Washington. Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Yeah. Wow.
JY. Philadelphia. The Steelers love.
This is like deja vu, bro.
NFL roots. They love NFL roots. And once again, we feel old as dirt. So I'll say this. The bigger needs. Okay, never mind. I see Mike Sainer still, cornerback from Michigan. Who also he was going to come on our show, right?
Yeah.
What happened? What happened, Mike? Should we not take him because he didn't make it on the sick pod?
You never know.
Sainer still is somebody who's got to be high on their board. Michigan all around should be high on their board. Roman Wilson, of course, a guy like Sainer still. Chris Jenkins, defensive tackle. Smaller corner, but can play in the slot, of course. Intelligent guy. Excellent ball skills. Love this part of him. When I watched him, you could tell he was a former receiver. Jordan, I'm going Mike Sanders still. Do you have any objections?
No, they just said he has to come on the podcast.
It's a fair objection. All right, we're rolling along. We're through 3 picks. Man, we got to root for a receiver to fall in the 4th round. I'm hurting a little bit. Shout out Brandon Ayuk, right? Tyler Boyd at this point, if the Steelers are sitting right here. Am I right?
I don't think they're going to budge.
You don't want Tyler Boyd.
No, I don't.
I know that.
I just don't. If I would rather get not that he's old, but someone from the draft. I just feel like it's deep enough that you could, someone on a rookie contract as opposed to paying, whatever he's looking for. That's all.
We're gonna find that out right here. We're gonna see if your point is valid, because if there are still a receiver left like Malik Washington, Johnny Wilson is still left. Wow. There we go. We came all the way back to 98 here.
That's what I'm saying, bro. This draft has diamonds in the rough. I'm like, this is like feasting. This is Thanksgiving early.
Stayed at 98. I think this is the pick acquired for Justin Fields. Am I right?
Probably. There's always a connection. I feel like the Bears just love doing people favors, especially the Steelers.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Obviously, the Steelers gave a pick for Justin Fields. I mean, Kenny Pickett.
We got an extra pick from Kenny Pickett.
Pick 98. So, yep.
If Johnny Wilson's
So they're going to
there,
turn Kenny Pickett. They're going to turn Kenny Pickett into Johnny Wilson here or Jermaine Burton. The only problem for me with Wilson, he is slow. He's got like some Kelvin Benjamin to him. He might transition to tight end. So I'm less inclined to take him. They like Washington. I said I don't like him as much. Sorry, my guy Ian Hanford, if you are watching this. Jordan, I mean, can you ever go wrong with a 6-foot receiver from Alabama with a 9.1 RAS test score who, was productive and has sure hands? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of just maybe because Johnny Wilson played in the ACC, I might have watched a little bit more ball on him, but you're not going to go wrong with anyone.
All right, why not? I don't have to make every pick. We'll take a shot at him.
Do it for your wife. Your wife's a Florida State.
My wife's a Seminole. She's a Seminole. Good luck.
There you go.
She will not know who Johnny Wilson is, and she could probably name 2 Pittsburgh Steelers. No, I would say
Chris
1.
Wink.
Chris Winky. Just Najee. Yeah, we'll do the right thing. We'll take John. And I'll say this, even if the Steelers have to move him to tight end, Arthur Smith loves having 6 of them. So Freiermuth, Darnell, Hayward, and Johnny Wilson. Kind of the surprise pick, I guess, so far of this whole thing. And I wouldn't rule out the Steelers taking 2 receivers, would you?
No, I mean, you can't. I mean, even if it's in the 5th or 6th round, address what you need. I think secondary, like you said, getting another cornerback would be huge for us. I mean, the thing is you need depth. You've seen what happened with the linebacker situation last year. I mean, we're pulling off guys off, that are, real estate agents at this point and just staying in the gym and saying, hey, here you go. So yeah, I mean, that's what and I think that this draft is depth wise one of the better that we've seen in, past years.
We're through 4 rounds. Here we go. If anybody joined us now, Marius Mims, future right tackle, 6'7" behemoth. Inexperience might be a little bit of the only knock on him, but it's easy to have inexperience. Well, it's not shocking when you're inexperienced playing behind guys like Broderick Jones on the best offensive line, who produces so much NFL talent. George Pickens, Darnell Washington, Broderick Jones. I don't have to tell you much more. Zach Frazier falls into Steelers' laps. You address 2 offensive line positions of need. You get 2 starters right away. Sainristil, who we debated because Steelers obviously need a receiver, but this is a home run first 3 picks. And then we went off the board a little bit. We went Johnny Wilson, who we think will probably go a little bit before 98, but his stock is falling due to the fact that he might play tight end. So we got a couple more positions to address: linebacker, defensive line, and we got 3 picks left. So let's get to work. These guys in the war room, day 3. This is where you find your guys who are going to contribute for the long haul. You find some gems, some diamonds in the rough. You're trying to think of some Steelers off the top of my head right now. You're Connor Hayward's. You're I'm losing my mind a little bit, but I can't think of Steelers right now. Who
you say you're sick of mock drafts, and here we are doing a mock draft.
Yeah, I know. So let's go to the defensive side of the ball. I know the absolute irony of it. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. And I want to look at D tackle.
This is fun though. This simulator really, I mean, it's
if Mason Smith is available, I'm turning in the card. He's not.
Gabe Hall.
Jefferson and Wingo make some sense. It's a good linebacker. Eichenberg, an Ohio State kid, the Steelers I'm sure will love because he's at Ohio State, but they might be able to get him in the next round. I'm sure that value looks good. Let me see if my guy Tyke Smith is available. He is.
Wow. You got to take him. Another dog. Literally
another dog. I love this dude. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He's like a poor man's Brian Branch out of Alabama last season.
Wow.
He could play in the nickel. He could play the slot. He can come up and play linebacker. He's like got some Quan Alexander qualities to him. Can cover tight ends.
He's versatile.
A big hitter. Is a playmaker. I really like this kid. It's not as big of a need now that Deshaun Elliott has been signed, but because he can play some linebacker too, I don't care. I'm taking another Bulldog here and bypassing a defensive lineman. Am I crazy?
Hey, it's the Steelers Crazy podcast, so I mean, we're all crazy at this point.
Yeah, we'll look defensive tackle here late in the draft and linebacker, and I think that will be a wrap. All right, we are at 178. JY, you don't butter your bread as much here in the 6th round, but you can absolutely find some players like Antonio Brown who will contribute. Not saying any of these guys will be Antonio Brown, but give me, which D lineman do you like here?
I watched Tyler Davis play a little bit. I like Gabe Hall from Baylor.
Gabe Hall.
Baylor football.
Let's do it.
Don't
take
know
Gabe
too
Hall.
much about him, but Baylor's a great football school. There we go.
Well, there you go. We can learn a little about him.
Yeah, 3-4 defense. Will
big in a 3-4. I mean, it's perfect. 9.2 RAS.
I mean,
obviously
loves to eat blocks. Sign me up. Draft. That's all I needed to hear.
Obviously, he's got some things to work on if he's still sitting around this spot. But 6'6".
Hey, look, that's our guy, Ian Valentino. You see that?
That's our guy. Came on the podcast. For a defensive line that's getting older, we are gonna go ahead whenever we are on the clock here. Let's see what's going on. Jordan Jefferson's gone.
Trice Knight, UTEP. Okay.
Cedric Johnson, he's a good player.
I love seeing some of these. What? Oh,
we lost Gabe Hall.
Not to the Chiefs of all teams. Come on, man. At least go to the NFC.
Devonshire, shout out Pitt. Joe Milton, one of the most fun prospects of all time.
Devonshire,
over the mountains. Coker, a friend of ours.
Dang, why is everyone going to the Chiefs? They won enough.
We'll go Tyler Davis then.
Is this thing know too much? Is this like?
Oh yeah, these algorithms, man. It's like today. I was kicking back and I was, I got a couple notifications on my phone from Domino's Pizza offering some free garlic and Parmesan bites, and I said to myself, these algorithms are so smart that they know there's a Pirates game on at 4 and a Penguins game on at 7 that I'm likely going to want to sit in front of my couch and watch and consider ordering Domino's. They know what sports teams you root for at this point. Yeah. These algorithms are a little bit scary. So, all right, last pick in the draft. This is when you just got to keep it real and be honest with everybody out there. I don't know who the heck Zion Tupuola Fetui is. I don't really know much about Trey Taylor and Patrick Morris. The skill players you do know a little bit more about. Eric All, tight end, Iowa, transfer from Michigan. Garendo, he tested phenomenally. I think he ran in the 4.3s. This would be a really good pick for the Jaguars here. And the Steelers could consider a running back in round 7. Actually, never mind. I forgot about Cordell Patterson. So I think we look at linebacker or edge. They never pass up an edge if they like one. I'm going to let you pick one out there just because I want you to say these two names right here. Let's start with these two.
Marst, Lafatua, maybe.
Okay, this is great. Let's now do this one.
Edefon, Yulo, Foshioi.
I think you named that one. You nailed that one. Notre Dame, let's see. Looks like best value here. I'm not sure if we're going to have a scouting report. 6'2", 234, inside linebacker. A key position, of course.
Wow, a UConn guy. You see that?
You need Jackson there. Mitchell. Cole Holcomb, still a free agent. Jackson Mitchell. Let's take Jackson Mitchell. Why not?
Why not? Take a shot. He could be. You never know. Diamond in the rough, as I said.
And that's a wrap, my friend. What grade do you give us?
A B++.
B minus. It's got to be better than a B minus. This is a A for me. This is a A.
I'll give it an A. But I'm not giving it an A+.
You can't. It's like giving a 10 out of 10 on a pizza review. You got to have a perfect score is tough to achieve. I like it. You got high standards.
I'm still in my head like thinking that you're not going to top last year's. Let's be honest. I mean, maybe I never the con artist, whatever he does, I let him do his thing. I don't pass judgment because he's worked miracles this offseason so far. Now it just
I'll screenshot this. I'll share it with the Twitter world, and we'll we'll jump off. I'm giving this an A. Get your right tackle. You get your center. You get your you get Sainer still, who's a steal. Johnny Wilson, some good value. Give him a shot. Maybe a high ceiling type guy. Kit Smith, who I love. I'll pound the table for him. And then you fill a couple holes with some later round depth. All right, bro.
Yeah, that was fun. We'll have to do it again. I know you're
A plus. Thanks everybody for watching.
Take a break.
I'll post it on Twitter. Give us a grade. We'll post this on Twitter. Thanks for jumping in with us. About 3 weeks till the real thing happens. Took Mims at 20 today, and I would say right now he's the favorite for me to go number 20. So sign us off, JY.
Hey, until next time, we appreciate all of you, every single one of us that hang out with us live, but most importantly, subscribe to our channel and just appreciate the Steeler content and shows and guests that we have. The one and only, the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. Have a great weekend.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.